Imagine you're standing right in front of three doors. Behind one of them is something absolutely incredible, a massive prize. Think, I don't know, a fully funded research grant with zero reporting requirements. Behind the other two doors, goats. Lovely animals for sure, but definitely not what you came for. So you pick a door. Let's say you confidently point to door number 1. But right before you open it, our host, who happens to know exactly what's behind every single door, steps in and opens door number 3. And behind it is a goat. Now the host turns right to you and asks the question that has literally started more arguments in faculty lounges than almost any other puzzle in the history of probability. Do you want to stay with door number 1, or do you want to switch to door number 2? So what does your gut tell you? Well, your gut probably says it doesn't really matter. It's a 50-50 shot, right? 2 doors left, 1 prize, take your pick. But here's the crazy part. Your gut is totally, objectively wrong. Let's dive right into section 1, the humbling history, and see exactly why our intuition fails us here.
So this puzzle is named after Monty Hall. He was the host of the American game show Let's Make a Deal, which kicked off back in the 1960s. But the problem really blew up like wildfire in 1990. Marilyn Vos Savant, who was famously in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the highest recorded IQ, answered this exact puzzle in her Parade magazine column. She confidently told a reader, "You should switch." And then, well, the backlash was just incredible. Throughout the 1990s, roughly 10,000 readers wrote in to tell her she was completely wrong. And get this, about 1,000 of those letters came from people with PhDs. We're talking mathematicians, statisticians at the NIH, major government researchers.
The response really brilliantly illustrates just how wild this backlash was. One highly credentialed reader actually wrote, "You blew it. Let me explain. As a professional mathematician, I'm very concerned with the general public's lack of mathematical skill." I mean, the absolute irony and condescension dripping from that letter. It proves a really crucial point for us in this explainer. Having advanced credentials does absolutely nothing to protect you from statistical stubbornness. Because here's the shocking truth. Marilyn Vos Savant was right all along. Staying with your original door gives you only a 1 in 3 probability of winning. But switching literally doubles your odds to a 2/3 probability. Those PhDs were so blinded by their own intuition that they completely missed the actual math just staring them right in the face. Okay, so the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the precise rules of the game. 1, there are 3 doors. 2, you choose, but you do not open. 3, and honestly, this is the secret engine behind the whole thing, the host always opens a losing door that you didn't pick. Always. And 4, he then offers you a switch. See, if you change even one of these fragile little rules, like say if the host just opens a door at random and happens to reveal a goat by accident, the entire math changes. The host's forced, constrained behavior is literally everything. Which brings us to section 2, breaking the intuition and how we apply symmetry poorly. Now, to be fair, your intuition isn't stupid. Assuming a 50-50 split when you face 2 unknowns is normally great statistical thinking. But to see why it completely fails here, let's dramatically scale this problem up. Imagine 100 doors, 1 prize, 99 goats. You pick door number 1. Your chance of being right initially is exactly 1 in 100. Now the host, who again knows where everything is forced to open 98 doors that all have goats. He leaves just your door, door number 1, and 1 other door. Let's call it door 47. Do you switch? I mean, of course you do. Your door is still sitting there at that original 1% probability. But the host just filtered out 98 goats for you, concentrating almost all the probability, 99% of it, onto door 47. The 3-door version uses the exact same logic. It's just compressed to the point where our human intuition kind of blinds us to it. And this brings us to a core mathematical concept. Probability is conserved. Your original 2/3 probability of picking wrong out of 3 doesn't just vanish into thin air when a goat is revealed. It can't, because the host is forced to avoid the prize and forced to avoid your door. He basically takes that remaining 2/3 probability and dumps it entirely onto the 1 unopened door. He is essentially doing a free search for you, turning that switch into a highly favorable 2/3 bet. All right, section 3, why smart people fail, looking at our cognitive blind spots. It really comes down to 3 cognitive failures. First up, the equal probability bias. When our brain encounters 2 unknowns, it stubbornly just defaults to 50-50. Second, failure to condition on the protocol. We mistakenly treat the host's action like it's just some random event, completely ignoring that he's a constrained actor playing by very strict rules. And third, anchoring and loss aversion. This is where the endowment effect kicks in. You pick door one, so suddenly it becomes your door. Switching and losing somehow feels way, way worse than staying and losing, even though the math is basically screaming at you to switch.
Now for Section 4, the real-world stakes. How this impacts life or death decisions.
Because you see, this exact statistical stubbornness that traps game show contestants, it is currently trapping professionals in actual life or death fields. The host opening a door? Well, that's just like receiving a positive diagnostic test. The host's protocol? That is exactly like adaptive trial stopping rules in research. Switching doors is the real-world equivalent of updating program evaluations. And revealing goats? That's like updating meta-analyses priors when a brand new study comes out. It is the exact same underlying machinery. Let's break this down a bit more. In diagnostic reasoning, clinicians constantly make this Monty Hall mistake when they forget the base rate of a rare disease. A positive test for a rare 1 in 10,000 disease, even if it's a highly accurate test, is still overwhelmingly likely to be a false positive. But clinicians, exactly like our game show contestants, frequently forget those original odds when they are handed a brand new test result. They totally forget the prior. Then we have adaptive trials. This shows us that the data-generating process is just as vital as the data itself. Think about it. 2 clinical trials can produce identical final numbers, but those data sets warrant entirely different inferences if one trial had a pre-specified stopping rule and the other just, peeked at the data. The protocol changes the inference. The data alone doesn't give you the answer. It's the data, plus the rules of the game.
And when we look at implementation research, the stakes are absolutely huge. Let's say you launch a massive global health program based on a specific theory, but early evidence starts coming in showing it's just not working as expected. Do you switch? Well, there is immense institutional pressure to stick with your original design. Funders are already on board, publications are in progress. Switching is incredibly costly. But new information absolutely must redistribute our belief. It shouldn't be used just to protect our prior commitments, no matter how much we've anchored on them. Section 5, the limits of the metaphor. Because as we know, real life is messy.
Now, the Monty Hall problem assumes a perfectly closed world. We have known doors, one static prize, and a forced, predictable host. But real, consequential decision-making happens in an open world. We face totally unknown options, new doors emerge over time, and the host is often this complex web of unaligned political forces and funders. Sometimes new information is a genuine signal, sometimes it's literally just noise. You have to reason conditionally based on the very messy process that actually generated your data.
Finally, Section 6, the Monty Hall discipline. Let's cover the ultimate lesson here.
So, what should you take away from this explainer? First, let evidence move you proportionally. No more, no less. Second, take the data-generating process seriously. How the data was created matters exactly as much as the data itself. And finally, actively resist anchoring on your initial choices. Treating belief revision as a required, learned skill is absolutely essential, mostly because our flawed human nature will always try to trick us into just standing still.
At the end of the day, the contestants who refuse to switch aren't stupid. They're just doing what humans naturally do. But the ones who switch, they're doing what the evidence asks of them. So the next time you are faced with a massive decision, an unexpected test result, or a struggling project, I want you to ask yourself this final question. Are you holding on to door number 1 because the evidence is truly there, or simply because the door is yours?